Welcome back to another edition of Pucking Around with Chris and crew. And once again, it looks like there's no one here, but we got Shant all the way from the West Coast on the line right now. Shant, how are you? How are you enjoying these hockey playoffs so far?
What's going on, Chris? Well, doing all right. It's been interesting, a lot of upsets, especially the Kings. We knew that, this was their year, but it looks like they wanted to go on a golf break early. No, but in all seriousness, Boston, what an upset, man. What an upset. Can't even get past the first round.
Yeah, and Mike picked that. Again, I think he was just picking upsets just to pick upsets, but he picked both the Avs losing and Boston losing.
I mean, that goes to show you, no matter what you do in the regular season, playoffs are just a different,
Yeah, well, I mean,
ball game, different monster.
They were literally the best team, like, ever, in the regular season, at least. And first round exit. And didn't they have a 3-2 or 3-1 series lead?
Yeah, they had it, and they, just couldn't finish. Maybe they're tired from all those wins.
Hey, you know what? Personally, I'd rather not. Okay, no, I always want to make the playoffs. I can't even say it with a straight face. I was gonna say, as a Penguins fan, we didn't make the playoffs, but I'd rather not have like that distinction to being like maybe the best team ever, and then losing in the first round to Florida. Florida barely made it into the playoffs.
Barely made it. Yep.
Yeah, if the Penguins didn't just like explode and hand it to them, they wouldn't have made it in the playoffs. So yeah, and then my whole thing, by the way, I was saying like, if the Penguins made the playoffs, they would have lost to Boston. I still believe that, but here, you never know. You make the playoffs, and then it's a different season.
Yep. Look at Seattle. Seattle's fighting.
Yep.
That was interesting. I know they had their first game yesterday, second round, and
yeah, they beat the Stars in overtime.
I know I'm jumping all over the place, but
Yeah, and the Panthers beat the Leafs yesterday also. So both the two upset teams are continuing the trend as of right now. But one game is not the
it's not going to do it. It's not going to do much, but
yeah.
Again, it gives them good momentum going into the series.
Definitely. All right. So with that, let us actually get into the predictions for round two. I do not have predictions from the other Chris, and I do not have predictions from other Mike. I texted them. They couldn't make it, and they said they were going to text me, but the show has to go on, Sean, and we're already late, like we just said. There was 2 games yesterday. So let us start in the East, if you will, and let us start with that series that we just talked about a little bit, the Panthers versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm going to let you go ahead and give your prediction and some info on this series.
As far as Toronto goes, Toronto and Florida, I personally like Toronto. They have a lot of weapons, and again, they showed up. They played a hard-fought series the first round. I think they give up that first game, but it was a tight match. I feel like they'll come back and they'll pull through. So my prediction is Maple Leafs. So I'll probably give them another 6 games this round just to make it through the next.
Yeah, and I was thinking Maple Leafs in 5. Obviously they lost yesterday, so it's easier to say maybe 6. But I think Maple Leafs definitely bounce back. Look, I don't like the goaltending on either side of this. Like if you have to pick which goaltender you like better, but I feel like that's what the Leafs did last season with getting Samsonov. He's not like he's no Shesterkin, but I feel like he can steal some games, and he needs to put a better playoff run together. You know what I mean? He hasn't done it in the past, but that's why they got him here, because they have the firepower, and now they need to do that. And I still think they rebound, kind of like they rebounded against Tampa Bay. I believe they lost game 1 also against Tampa Bay, and we know how that series ended. So I think the Leafs keep it going. Let us move on to the second series in the East. and that is the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New Jersey Devils with Jack Hughes. Man, that guy can fly. Go ahead, Sean.
He's a monster, and just to touch base on that Shesterkin, he's definitely no Shesterkin because he's in the second round. Shesterkin's not. So
well, it's just the one thing that bothers me about Shesterkin. He's a great goaltender, but dude, like he gets so involved with the other players. It really bothers me. Against the Penguins, I've seen him get like a tiny shoulder bump. I'm talking about like they barely touch, and he's flopping around and like laying down, and medical people are coming out. The guy like likes to try to like showboat, or I don't know what it is. That's not showboat. He likes to dive, I guess, right? He like likes to put on this act to try to get more calls, I guess, and I don't know.
He's like LeBron.
Don't go into basketball with me. I can't talk much.
No.
Let's go Knicks.
We won't. All right.
That's all I know. but yeah, I mean, go ahead with the New Jersey Devils.
With the Devils, look, the Devils. They showed that they can play. That Game 7, that was phenomenal. Honestly, put Rangers on their back, and they had no answer for them. Young team. I think they're extremely fast, like you said, and they're clicking. I mean, they picked up Timo Meier coming onto the squad. I mean, that's been a huge pickup for them.
No goals, though. No goals in that Rangers series.
No, but he was a big part of that. Big part of that.
Oh, yeah. I think over 40 goals, or at least over 30 goals. I'd have to double check. It was either obviously over 40 would be over 30, but he had close to 40 goals in the regular season and none in that first round. So, he's due.
Yeah, he's up for it. I mean, they're just a faster team. I don't know if Carolina can keep up with them. That's just me on it, and then coming off that 4-0 win against the Rangers, that's gonna. I mean, they're up there now. They're how can I say? Their endorphins have kicked in. I mean, the testosterone's flowing. I mean, they're feeling great. They're gonna come in, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they see a game like what we just saw with the Rangers. I mean, come up with 3-0 or 4-0 to start this series.
And by the way, I looked it up. He did have 40 goals in the regular season. He also took that nasty hit by, I call him Chicken Wing Trouba, because he likes to get that shoulder up, though. This hit was clean, unlike the one he did against Crosby last year in the playoffs. But so Timo, I think he might be day-to-day. I know his nose looked pretty banged up in that Game 7.
I think that was the only exciting thing that the Rangers had going for them in that game was that hit.
Yeah, and it was just amazing how the Rangers came out, winning those first two games, and it looked like it was over, and the Devils just pulled it together. That young team realized, hey, time is now. let's do it now. So, what did you say? The Devils in how many games?
Honestly, I think the Devils in 5 in this one.
5. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm with you on it. I'm going Devils in 6. Hurricanes got a lot of speed as well. I think this is going to be like very back and forth. I think there's going to be a lot of goals, but I mean, Akira Schmidt, that guy came in looking like Brodeur number 2, and he shut down the Rangers with 2 shutouts, and I think specifically because the Hurricanes have a lot of injuries on their offense, I think that's going to be the case again. I think the goaltending is going to be there. I think the offense is going to be there. And I'm going to give it 6 games because you never know with the young kids, right? A game could get away from them. But I do think that the Devils do get past the Carolina Hurricanes. And by the way, I mean, if I want to see a series, I really want to see the Devils versus the Leafs, but that's getting ahead of myself. That would be an amazing series.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's back up, or not back up. I'm backing up on my iPad here to see West Coast matchups. Let's head on west, is what I wanted to say, and talk about the Stars versus the Kraken. I love that Kraken's logo. I say it every time. Who do you like in this one, Sean?
I'm actually surprised by both. I didn't think either one of these teams would make it to the second round. And they came out. They played yesterday. I mean, that was a amazing game. I think I was listening to it on the radio, and they were talking about how the Kraken put up 3 within a minute and a half, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then, sure as hell, a 60-minute game. Remember, I mean, that's what it is. Never give up, and that's what Dallas did. They came back, tied it up, but overtime was just a different story.
Well, anything can happen in overtime. Every shot counts. The shifts get shorter. All those sayings that you always hear in overtime. But the thing that surprised me was Ottinger looked human because if I was going to pick a goalie out of the goalies that are left, because I mean a lot of the good ones have fallen, like Shesterkin, Ullmark, Ottinger would be that next one on that tier. And again, he looked very human against the Kraken. So I think he'll bounce back though.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I honestly don't think that the Kraken are going to come out and score 5 goals every game. But it was just impressive to see that. But they, Dallas came back, fought hard, but just didn't have enough juice to finish it out. I mean, what was it? Pavelski had all their goals?
Yeah, he's that line. The Pavelski line is really their scoring line. It drops off a lot, even during the regular season. It drops off a lot after that. So, who did you like in the series?
If I had to pick between the two, why not go with Seattle? New franchise. Let's just see them. Let's ride them out. I mean, I don't think they'll get past either team that's remaining in the next round, but it'll be nice to see them there.
Nice. So I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars. I think that, I really think that Ottinger is the difference maker, though Grubauer, he's no slouch, okay? I want to make sure I give credit there. But I like the Stars. I think I'm going to go with 7 games, though. And when you go 7 games, you know that it can go either way. Because that game 7, really, you get one bad bounce, right? And it could go the other way. But I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars. I think that, listen, you upset one team. I think they're riding high, but I think the Stars kind of came in feeling like they were used to playing the Wild, and this team came out different. And I think the Stars are going to adjust. Remember, the Stars have been in the playoffs a couple of years in a row now. So they have a good core in there. So I think they are going to build on that. Let us go to the Vegas Golden Knights. You always go to Vegas versus the Edmonton Oilers, who finally get to get past the Kings.
The Kings, yeah. Well, they got past them last year too, 7.
I know, but it always looks like they're gonna lose to the Kings. I picked the Oilers to beat the Kings. And they had me worried. I was like, oh, did I make the wrong choice again? And then I was remembering last year, and I was like, it took like every ounce to beat them. So yeah, I mean, it was a good series, though. I mean, I turned off a couple games where the Kings were up, and they ended up obviously losing.
It didn't turn out in our favor. I mean, obviously, the Kings fan, watching those games, one of those games would look like, I mean, no matter what we did, nothing was going to happen. Nothing would go our way. I mean, these guys were taking shots off their own players' faces, and it was getting in the net.
Yeah, those are those lucky bounces I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally, off his face. But, coaching, Korpisalo didn't. People have mixed emotions. I don't think he stepped up to what we needed as far as a goalie. But some people say that, no, he did great. But, I mean, what's done is done. Oilers are in. They're a very fast team. McDavid, as much as I hate this guy, he shows up. He shows up and he plays until he has a Kings jersey, like when Gretzky did the switch. I'm not going to like the guy. I just hate him. But again, he's a hell of a hockey player. He steps up that entire line. And I think the Draisaitl, there were some games where these guys were just headhunting. And we just didn't have the toughness to match up with it. So not only did we get beat physically, we got beat on the scoreboard, and that's why they're in the next round. Vegas, I mean, yeah, I'm there all the time. I love it. The hockey team has grown on to me. I went to saw my first game there live against the Kings. It was a hell of an atmosphere. The crowd gets into it. I mean, I can only imagine what the playoffs are like in that stadium. But this game, I don't know. I mean, just seeing how hard the Kings fought against Oilers, I hope that the Knights can match that same intensity and kind of give them a run for their money. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Oilers beat them all throughout the entire regular season.
I'd have to look it up. I do know that the
Or let me see.
Knights.
I'm sorry. It was 3 games to 1. They won 3, and 2 of those games were won in Vegas. So the Oilers, I mean, doesn't matter if they're playing at home or on the road. I mean, they're stepping up, and I don't know. I just hope the Knights have that fire. They're rested. They had a little bit longer of a break than the Oilers did since they won in 5. And they have good talent. I just hope they can match up with, that first line that the Oilers bring.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Oilers, if they had solid goaltending, they would be unstoppable in my mind. And speaking of goaltending, I mean, what did the Golden Knights use? 5, maybe 6 goaltenders this year, because they've been a little bit of a goalie by committee. But look, Golden Knights 51 wins in the regular season, Oilers 50 wins, right? So Knights finished with 2 points ahead of them, and apparently goaltending is not everything, because Knights were able to do it with a committee, and the Oilers, again, like I said, if they had some solid goaltending back there, oh my God, they'd be unstoppable. But don't tell Boston that, because they had maybe what looked like the best goaltender this year, and they're not here anymore. But with that, I'm actually going to go with the Golden Knights in 7. I think this is going 7 because that's just the way the Knights are. I think they're going to stick around, and there's going to be those games where they should win and they lose, and for both the teams, where bad bounce here, bad bounce there. But I do think the Knights pull it off in Game 7 in advance.
I like that as well. Just being my Kings bias, so I'm going to go Knights. I want the Oilers to get knocked out. I don't want them to advance. And if, again, goaltending, sadly, both of them have my backup goaltenders. They have Campbell and they have Quick.
Quick, yeah.
So I'd enjoy to see either one of those guys in net if the starters go. But then again, the Knights have some experience, some playoff experience, and they have a couple of Kings that have won some Stanley Cups on that team too. So I would like to see them advance to the next round.
Yeah, and with how much you are in Vegas, it's practically like your second home, so might as well, right?
Right. I mean, let's see. Make my daughter happy. Make it a Knights Devils Stanley Cup, and we can go to that one.
There you go. She's a big fan of Jack Hughes, huh?
Oh, Jack Hughes, Nico Heischer.
Oh yeah.
I never thought I'd see the day.
all those young faces. When I watch the Devils, I'm reminded of how old I am, because I remember watching the Crosbys and the Malkins and the Latangs when they were all baby faced, right? And
Yep.
and now they're all they're all old men also. Not as old as I am, but they're all old men also. And
it's sad when you point out a player like Alexander Edler and you say he's 36, and she says, "Wow, he's old."
yeah, there you go. Exactly. Well, Sean, listen, I've been enjoying these playoffs. I'm actually really excited to watch the Devils tonight. I've kind of become a little bit of a Devils fan this playoff run without the Penguins in there, so I've been kind of rooting for them the most, mainly because I got a lot of friends that are Devils fans. And I don't know if I told you, when the playoffs started, I had a lot of Ranger fans texting me and poking me like, hey, where are those Penguins? So at that point, that kind of made my decision pretty easy which local team I was going to root for. They decided for me. So
I completely.
So with that, we're gonna end again. Sean, thank you for coming on, and we're gonna end this again by saying, what do we always say, Sean? What do you got to do? You gotta like, you gotta subscribe, you gotta comment below.
Look at the bottom of this video. Go ahead and click that like, subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next round.
Exactly. Have a good one, everyone.